been a minute since I've done a talking video. I have been itching to do a sketchbook walkthrough or flip through or whatever you want to call it this year, or just in general. I've been wanting to do more of those, but the problem is I haven't really been showing love to my sketchbook. Most of my time this year has been spent working on a comic called Onion City Chronicle. It's something I intend to complete this year, so I've been really putting all my creative time towards working on that comic. So with that said, I really haven't had much time to do much sketching for fun. I've done like a couple sketches here and there, but not enough to do a walkthrough or a flip through. So I was like, why not flip through the comic pages that I've done this year, illustrated, the panels, if you will. These won't have like the dialogue boxes or anything because I do that stuff digitally, but my comic creation process involves, creating the sketches and inking and illustrating using Copic markers and other alcohol markers, some gouache, some various mediums and tools, but all physical, and then converting to digital and kind of polishing it up on the iPad. But before we talk about this most recent sketch, these two panels here, let's rewind to all the panels that I want to say I worked on this year entirely. So yeah, let's start here. Starting with this first one. This is a shot of my character Mona asleep in bed, and this is a fist that I was going to superimpose or Photoshop on top of a alarm clock that I had previously sketched. Oh, I'm forgetting one of the panels actually, because I framed it, but I think that'll be the next one anyway. But anyway, she's asleep here, an alarm goes off, she hits it with her fist to snooze it, and that's pretty much what the idea was with this image here. The next panel or page, I should say, this was a full spread or a full page panel, you could say, that I liked so much that I framed it. And it's showing Mona's bedroom. And if anything, the panel before this, or I should say the page before this, I must not have included it because it was, part of something I did maybe last year. Now I can't remember. Let me try to see if I have it handy. If not, we'll just keep going. Oh, okay. I do have it handy, and now things will make more sense. So let's start with this. Outside shot, you got my character Snow here flying in to this clock tower building here. And this window here is where Mona lives. She lives in this like studio, small space apartment at the top of this clock tower. We've got a cat running across the roof. But yeah, so Snow's pulling up. You see the exclamation points. That's because an alarm is going off from the inside where she's asleep. She wakes up, she smashes the alarm. Do I even have the picture of the alarm clock somewhere? Maybe not handy. Oh, yeah. I drew this for a different panel. Or no, maybe I drew this first. I can't remember now. Then I drew the fist, and I photoshopped the fist slamming the alarm clock. Anyway, moving forward. Now we're caught up. Then we got this shot showing her little room, and Snow is climbing in through the window that we saw him flying around to. She's still asleep. All is good though. She's got her sword hanging above her bed. She's got a Kill Will poster because in this universe, Kill Bill doesn't exist, but the movie Kill Will does, and it's one of Mona's favorite revenge films. She's got this little locker here is like her closet / locker. She's got the Onion City Bloomers sticker here, which will be a sports team in Onion City. I haven't decided what sport. I don't know if it'll be a real sport, or I might bring Blitzball to Onion City, and Blitzball is from the game Final Fantasy X. It's like an underwater soccer type of sport. Yeah, that's probably the best way to explain it. It's not water polo because they're actually underwater in a water sphere. It's a whole thing. You should look it up. Anyway, the date is October 14th, 2189. You've got like the word indigo scratched into the locker here. Mona is an indigo. The indigo people are pretty much mutants of this world. Shout out to the X-Men. I've got a Kane East poster because again, Kanye West doesn't exist in this reality, but Kane East exists in this reality. With that said, we've got a little plant here. This is the indigo flower of Onion City that, I haven't elaborated much on, but they're a rare flower and they help indigos kind of enhance and evolve their powers. So she's got a small one here that's like hasn't bloomed yet, and you've got Snow climbing in through that window. I wanted to show a little bit of mess in this image, but I didn't have too much room. I've just got sometimes she wears a poncho. I've got it here sitting under the bed, and had to throw a Pokeball in there just because, shout out to Pokemon. Maybe I should have flipped the colors just to make it like parallel universe Pokemon, but I didn't. Here we are. But yeah, that's what's going on this page. Bro's climbing in. He's like, wake up, yo, you got things to do. Moving on. Let's flip this from here. These are two panels that are pretty much dialogue. She's kind of like over it, like, dude, I'm tired. I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, yo, get dressed. It's time to, start the revolution by going to this job interview at the Egg Troll Company, which is like the most corrupt company in Onion City at this time. Shout out to inspirations of Shinra from Final Fantasy VII. That's kind of where I got the inspiration for the Egg Troll Company, but they're a tech company. There's Apple influence in there, but their phones are shaped like eggs. And yeah, they're a tech company, but they're, that's like the front is that they're, a super tech company, but behind the scenes, they're just like there to feed and enhance the power of the dictators of Onion City. But moving on, little world building, little backstory there. So he's like, yo, get to this interview. She's like, dude, what are you talking about? How's that, starting a revolution? He's like, nah, we got to infiltrate from within. So she goes and gets dressed and walks to her bike that is, if you're familiar with Akira, heavily inspired by, what's it called? Canada's Bike. I was like, what's Bro's name in that movie? Love that movie. Need to watch it more. I can't say I've watched it more than a handful of times, but it's an epic anime film. Very beautiful artwork. I currently own a comic book box set of the manga that I haven't finished reading because time is just, I don't know what time is, to be honest with you, but that's another story. This is my take on that bike. It's like, what would my character's version of Canada's Bike look like? Of course it would be blue. It would have, stickers related to what she's into. We've got the indigo flower, the indigo vine, thorn vine right here, an indigo like graffiti style sticker. Onion City because she's just reps her hometown. And then this is supposed to be Red Onion Smokes, which is a false cigarette brand in the world of Onion City. And then I had to just throw in my little, muddy tag on the back of the bike there. Moving on. She's walking to her bike. She's not really in interview clothes, which I didn't think to put her in for this bike ride, but anyway, she's in her street clothes. Next up, we are riding to the Egg Troll Company for this interview. And she's zooming out of the parking garage of the clock tower that she lives in. Used a lot of Akira manga book references here for these panels. I think this one I might have referenced something from Jake Parker, where he had a character on a bike. And just kind of like, I tend to like repurpose images when I'm creating references. Like I might, Photoshop one thing over another and then try to make it make sense for what I'm trying to convey. But this was like a scene where she's riding to the company, but she's also having a phone call and continuing her conversation with Snow. You can't see that because there's no dialogue bubbles here, but the idea is that, she's zipping, she's zooming, but she's also talking to Snow, and then she's pulling into the parking lot of the Egg Troll Company. Looking back, I'm like, maybe I could have done a couple more panels to show like her pulling up to the company, to show like, just for the world building aspect, to show what that building looks like from the outside before she pulls into the garage. But here we are. You think of these things later sometimes, and that's okay. I'm here to complete this project, not to perfect it. I think I'll perfect it over time. But that's, again, another story for another day. Back. Okay. So with that, I think I had that thought about the building. So I was like, well, let me just show the building. And it looks like an egg dome, and that's what it's referred to. The Egg Troll company headquarters is the Egg Dome. It's a massive building. I wanted to show how massive it was by showing some trees around it. So there's the Egg Dome relative to the trees. And then, we just jump right into, she's in one of these, glass windowed rooms. She's having herself an interview with one of the, head assistants or directors at the Egg Troll Company. I never really gave this person a name or a story, I don't think, unless I forgot. But I wanted like a robotic, android-like director, assistant, whoever, interviewer, let's call her the interviewer. So I went with like, some cyberpunk-esque facial augmentation here to indicate that she's either a cyborg, an android, either a semi-cyborg human or a fully functional android. And they have a series of interesting interactions, and it's a very short interview, really, and that ends with her going, okay, I think you're ready to meet, Lord Egg Troll, the head of the company. And she's like, what? Okay. And you could see she changed into a suit somewhere in the garage, I'm assuming. And they're heading to meet Lord Egg Troll at the top of the Egg Dome. So they head to an elevator. Shout out to Severance. Now anytime I think of a corporate elevator, I think of the show Severance. Check it out if you haven't. Great show. They're waiting in the elevator. They get up to the elevator, and at the end of this long hallway, right outside this elevator, is it seems like this floor has nothing going on except Egg Troll's office, and he's at the end, and just a small shadowy figure, and it's like, who the hell is that with that weird ass voice? And the only thing weirder than his voice is how he looks, and here he is, Lord Egg Troll, Lord Jinx Egg Troll himself, if you will. A man who's been leading this company, quote unquote this company, for over 100 years. How he's still alive, nobody knows. But here he is, and he invites Mona in for some additional questions. They walk in. If you couldn't tell, I referenced the Oval Office for this office. I was just thinking like the top of the egg dome has to be oval shaped or round in nature at least. So that's what I did there. He just got his computer. I don't know what it is with cactuses or cacti. I just find them like to be a cool plant to put in places, I guess. But because we had a cactus in the interview room, we've got a cactus up here. It just makes me, or maybe I associate the evil ones here with like prickly, just being prickly and dry. And yeah, we're here. There, she's thinking, you know, okay, additional interview questions, and then he kind of hits her with, "Yo, you're not with that rebel group Quake, are you?" Which is like the first time I mentioned this rebel group at this point, but it's heavily inspired by Avalanche in Final Fantasy VII, which was the rebel group in that video game. My version is Quake. And she's like, "Oh no," and he's like, "Yeah, we found a sword in your, you know, our security scans showed that you had a sword on your bike." And she was like, "Oh, sorry, I left that there because I live in the South District. It's not the safest area, blah blah blah." And you know, there's like demon spawn or dark spawn monsters out there, which are, you know, later to be revealed. They're like, essentially they're people that they were citizens of Onion City that have lost themselves to darkness and have just let darkness consume them, and they like pretty much devolve into these monsters that somehow are making the rulers or dictators of Onion City even stronger. And he's over here acting like, "Oh, such a shame, these dark spawns. Yeah, I don't know. It's so." He's claiming that they're caused by like indigos, or like that the mutants of this world like have devolved into those monsters, and really it was just like citizens devolving into those monsters from like things that were going on in the city that, you know, the rulers kind of caused. And she's just kind of eye rolling through this whole interaction. And he's like, "Okay, you got the job. You're our next intern. Have a good day. Take care. Peace." And she's like, "Okay, I'm getting out of here. This was weird." And right after he goes, "Let me call my assistant and tell her that we need to have like somebody tracking her movements for the next 24 hours to see what's what," because he doesn't trust her. Moving on. This next sequence, I was initially planning to just jump to her apartment and her reconnecting with Snow, but then I was like, you know, it's been a lot of dialogue. Let's have some like fun and get an action sequence going. So that is what we're doing here. I was like, it would be more fun to have her walk home and run into one of these dark spawn monsters. Taking a scenic route in one of the parks that still looks pretty, even though the rulers of this city have kind of ruined all the parks. But you kind of see here, like, this bench is a little bit messed up and nobody's fixed it, but the trees are still thriving somewhat in this park, at least this last remaining park. And you've got a little shadow here of shaped like a cat, if you couldn't tell. At least that's what I was going for. Kind of lurking in the background, that will be more revealed later, if you will. She's walking home. She's telling Snow that interview was really weird, and then she's like, "Oh crap! I decided to take the scenic route instead of just teleporting home or, you know, riding my bike home, and now I run into one of these dark spawns, a Trillbean bomb type." And Trillbean is like a weird monster character I've come up with over the years, and then I made this one like a rounder, bigger bomb type, if you will, also inspired by like the bombs in Final Fantasy games that just kind of expand and explode over time, and also inspired by Coughing, the Pokemon, if you couldn't tell, with the smoke coming out. But yeah, so it's like, she's like, "I gotta take this guy out," and I was like, what would be a cool way to take this character out, or this monster out, and I was like, what if she just teleports up to his face, kicks him, he flies away, and then she teleports behind him to do like a chop in half, like the way Trunks chopped Frieza in half in Dragon Ball Z. So that was the idea. Her teleportation sound is baboof, which is kind of like the Bamf sound effect that Nightcrawler does. But yeah, that's her sound, is just like baboof, baboof again. She's right in front of him, kicks him in the side, knocks out a tooth, tears are already flowing. He's like, what the hell? And then we go to the next page to see the next panel. You see her, like, there's the kick that she kicked him to, has him flying across the park here. And her baboof has already started because she's going to pop up right behind him. She pops up right behind him, sword up, arm ready to slice him in half. He's kind of like, oh shit, like it's a wrap, I guess. And it sure is, because the next page, or the next panel that I'm sketching, shows her violently slicing him in half. With the little shink sound effect, she's cutting into his face, chopping him in half, and then the next panel is just like, bro fell to the ground in two pieces, blood's everywhere, she's sheathing her sword, and she's probably going to go back to talking to Snow. Like, so anyway, this this is what happened. See you soon, or whatever. But I really wanted to do like a fun action sequence, because it's been a lot of dialogue in the past like few pages of this chapter that I've been working on. But yeah, that was the flip through of all the little illustrations I've been working on this year. Like I said, I guess if I can't do sketchbook walkthroughs, I'll try to do these every time I have like 5 or 10 or however many this was to talk through. But I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. Are you looking forward to this comic? I'm definitely going to kickstart physical publishing of this comic. I will be updating the webtoon as well. But yeah, let me know if this created some interest or some hype for you. And until next time, peace.